When you hear the word kaiju, what image comes to mind? This guy, or maybe even this guy. Depending on your taste in movies, what you think looks cool, or just your age could greatly change what monster pops into your head. Japanese giant monsters have evolved a lot over the years, and it's been interesting to see different creative twists on the genre. Like in the new anime for Kaiju No. 8, a show that is quickly taking over anime discussions and bringing an action-packed, quirky, and kaiju-rich world. But how did we get here? Why can't an anime about big monsters so easily capture the hearts of tons of anime fans? And how is this anime still building on a genre that is almost 100 years old? The truth is that big monsters require a big reaction, and we learned that way back in the 1930s. When you think of the first kaiju film, you immediately think of Godzilla. Godzilla is the big bang for kaiju. He is the very first, the OG, the pioneer, the alpha, the founding father. And that's fair. He technically is. Kaiju is a Japanese term that translates to strange beast, and Godzilla is Japanese, a strange creature, and had the first true kaiju movie. However, in modern terms, the genre focuses on giant monsters. Basically, if it's a giant monster wreaking havoc, it's safe to call it a kaiju. Which actually means that Clifford the Big Red Dog is a kaiju. Like seriously, he's a giant, dogs aren't really monsters, but neither are moths, and Mothra's a kaiju, and he also just wreaks a lot of havoc. He's a kaiju. I mean, we don't talk about this enough. Like, he's been around since the 60s, and alright, I shouldn't go down this rabbit hole. My point is, though, that one of the biggest influences to the kaiju genre wasn't from Japan, but the US of A. Way back in 1933, America was right in the middle of the Great Depression. Americans needed an escape from the economic nightmare surrounding them, so they went to the theater to see a movie about a giant gorilla, and that gorilla's name was King Kong. The movie follows a film team to Skull Island to find a legendary beast named Kong, and it was a smash hit, even with the economic troubles of the United States. It influenced cinema moving forward, but shortly after, in the 40s, nuclear testing became a popular theme, and this inspired a movie that featured a giant dinosaur called the Redosaurus. Were you expecting someone else? The 1953 American film The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms featured a giant dinosaur that awakens due to nuclear test in the Arctic. The stop motion effects were fantastic and allowed the creature to feel realistic, and this movie would go on to inspire the greatest kaiju of all time in 1954. Godzilla's original movie is where the genre really took shape. His film quickly became a global hit, but this movie wasn't a guaranteed success. Toho, the movie's production company, was not at all confident in the film. I mean, the concept was a tough sell. The fact that it centered around a monster destroying Tokyo, and that monster was created from nuclear testing. This movie came out not even 10 years after the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Japan was still rebuilding. World War II was still fresh in Japanese audiences' mind, and then you're gonna give them a horror movie with themes of nuclear destruction? It was a gamble, but the Big Lizard did huge numbers and became beloved. So much so that Godzilla got a sequel that revolutionized the kaiju genre again. A year later, in 1955, Godzilla Raids Again brought the structure that would define the majority of the kaiju genre by giving Godzilla a punching bag named Anguirus, because they quickly figured out that 2 kaiju was better than 1, and then they said,
let them fight.
This gave rise to more and more kaiju taking center stage, like Rodan in his 1956 movie and Mothra in 1961. With the more and more success of kaiju films, creature designs became even more creative. King Ghidorah, a 3-headed golden dragon, came from outer space to fight Godzilla, and then a new kaiju franchise came on the scene in 1965 with Gamera, a giant spiky turtle that can fly like this. A year later, Ultraman came alive, bringing a wide variety of kaiju to fight. These series all have and continue to bring new twists on the genre. In 2008, we got the found footage kaiju film called Cloverfield. 2013's Pacific Rim not only featured actual monsters named kaiju, but giant mechs fighting them. Godzilla's Monsterverse is still giving fans humongous, over-the-top monster beatdowns. So after all this history with all stars just enhancing the kaiju genre, how does a manga from 2020 not just stand out, but become a hit that gets an anime adaptation that just keeps growing in popularity? Kaiju No. 8 is a fresh and innovative take on the kaiju genre. It has some similar anime tropes that other successful animes have, like how the protagonist is a half human and half other, like the half-demon Inuyasha and the half-ghoul Kaneki Ken from Tokyo Ghoul. But it also blends traditional elements with modern storytelling, with fun, intense, and bloody action, as well as some cool monster designs. The main character, Kafka Hibino, can transform into a kaiju and fight against them, which really really has not been done before in the genre. The transformation allows Kafka to stand toe-to-toe with giant and powerful kaiju with immense strength, speed, and durability, but he also has more unique powers like regeneration, shape-shifting, and the ability to locate other kaiju. Another unique ability is that he can pee out of his nipples. I mean, that's unique, you can't argue with that. Aside from all this, Kafka possesses another unique quality that you don't often see in shonen stories: his age. Most shonen manga and anime have a teenage main character, but Kafka is 32 years old. When we first meet him, he is living in disarray, going to work and not living up to his true potential. This allows the anime to dive into more mature themes like dealing with unfulfilled dreams, being judged for your age in a young competitive field, and the challenges of a late life change. I turned 31 while I was writing this video, and I really hate how this is the character that I can relate to so well.
Miss, I'm only 32! That does not make me old!
It does too.
Wait, it does?!
He is a 32-year-old man who is still chasing his dreams of joining the Defense Force. The anime tackles relatable themes like perseverance, the pursuit of dreams, and the conflict between duty and personal desire. Kafka's struggle to achieve his dream of joining the Defense Force despite his age and the sheer difficulty resonates with anyone who dreams big and works so hard to make it a reality. And if you like supporting men in their 30s chasing their dreams, please subscribe to the channel. I wonder if I need to turn into a half-human, half-YouTube trope though to be successful. Kafka isn't the only standout element of the anime. Each character has a unique personality that some you immediately love, and some take a while to grow on you. The fights are fast, hard-hitting, and over-the-top bloody. The music is kind of all over the place and blends between cringy and badass. The anime explores these serious themes and displays intense violence while also being incredibly quirky and silly at times. But one crucial factor the story needs to get right is the monsters. So what does it do right, wrong, or different when it comes to the actual kaiju? At first glance, it's easy to just think that Kaiju No. 8 gives generic kaiju and references them with a blanket term like kaiju. This is similar to Pacific Rim. The stories start out with just a generic kaiju fight to set the tone and ease audiences with fun action and easy to understand concepts like kaiju classification, threat level, and just that punching them really hard is effective. But as the story continues, the lore goes deeper and deeper. Pacific Rim gets wild about precursors, different dimensions, and kaiju world domination. This isn't that unlike Kaiju No. 8, which at the beginning you learn the world's kaiju problem and the Defense Force fighting against it, but you are curious about Kafka's new ability to transform into a kaiju. It isn't long though until you meet another kaiju who can turn into a human with Kaiju No. 9, and you quickly realize that this isn't as simple as Rock'em Sock'em Kaiju. The kaiju themselves have different fortitude levels and types, like the Honju being big and powerful, Yoju who follow the Hanju and assist them in battle, the Dai Kaiju who are so ludicrously strong that only 24 Defense Force elite operatives even stand a chance against one, and finally the identified kaiju like our very own Kaiju No. 8 who have numbers associated with them because they are so dangerous and powerful. It is surprisingly deep for a series that could have easily just said, some monsters are bigger than others. Unlike a lot of kaiju films we've had in the past, the human elements of Kaiju No. 8 is not just crucial, but deep, fascinating, and relatable. I remember watching Godzilla x Kong and literally did not learn a human's name the entire movie and could care less when they were on screen, but conversely, in Godzilla -1, the human elements made me reflect on becoming a father. Kaiju No. 8's transformation twist allows for the anime to talk about duality and identity. It showcases the struggles of telling a friend a deep secret and realizing how important they are, that not only do they keep that secret, but also support you. Kafka and his friends are just as enjoyable sitting at a cafe making jokes as they are fighting monsters.
Did you just eat anything?
It wasn't like I ate it on purpose! Can you both quit yelling?
Something the MonsterVerse Godzilla movies have done that I enjoy is the sheer scale of the world they're creating. Godzilla 2014 started with a simple story that has grown into a massive world of monsters and even a subterranean world that is ever expanding. It doesn't just allow audiences to enjoy the ride, but think about where the series will go next given all the new places to explore. Kaiju No. 8 does this, but in a different way. Instead of new exotic locations, the expansion comes in the form of different kaijus with some simple-minded giant brutes or humanoid detailed freaks that don't just have immense power, but a disturbing presence about them. It also explores human life and how they react to these large kaiju, like Kafka working in a cleanup crew, because these monsters don't just disappear when the cameras stop rolling. We can believe the world that Kafka lives in and even relate to it, even though a monster hasn't risen out of the sea. Yet. The kaiju genre also loves to blend different genres. Cloverfield gave us a found footage horror spin from a civilian's view, Ultraman series gave us sci-fi with alien invasions, alternate realities, and high-tech gadgets and weapons. Even the superhero genre is blended in there with Gamera or Godzilla saving the day, even when completely destroying an entire city during it. Kaiju number 8 does this too. It never shies away from the violence and blood that fighting kaiju brings, along with the horror elements of the kaiju stomping, eating, and evolving as appendages grow out of their body. Not to mention the humans reacting to all this.
Run away! I can't! I won't leave without you, Mommy!
The sci-fi elements of the Defense Force add a cool, high-octane element to the anime. The fights are much more interesting than just humans running away, as well as adding a lot to the world they live in. As Kafka trains, we get a good understanding of how the weapons work and how the humans are able to withstand big punches, even if Kafka doesn't get much use of them.
Unleash combat power! 0%!
And all of this is told in a superhero style, with Kafka having a secret identity as he saves the world, while also dealing with the fact that this new power is more than just a way to achieve his dreams, but has consequences both in his own life and on a global scale. The entire anime takes what we all love about the kaiju films that came before it, but it adds its own spin that gives a totally fresh and exciting take on the genre. Kaiju were born out of movies like King Kong, which gave audiences an escape during the Great Depression in America, and Godzilla, who was built out of tragedy and a nation healing from a world war and man-made horror. From the irradiated ashes, Godzilla rose, and with him, a whole new genre to please the world for decades. Now in 2024, we get Kaiju number 8, a show that has captured the hearts of anime fans, kaiju lovers, and guys in their 30s. It's a perfect blend of old and new that continues the beautiful, larger-than-life legacy of the kaiju genre, and like kaijus themselves, it evolves it. It is a perfect time to be a fan of the genre with huge blockbuster movies and animes like this. I mean, we live in a world where Clifford the Big Red Dog could partner with Godzilla, but the cowards in Hollywood won't do it. I'm still on the Clifford thing. If you give me like an hour, I can write a script here. I didn't even get in front of someone.
These guys
If you really think about it, he can fit into the monster bridge.